How's your hygiene? Not that. Your self protection hygiene. Are you covered? Can you do what you have to do in a real violent conflict? Today, I'm going to share with you 5 secrets, 5 things that can help you progress immensely. And as per my usual policy, as someone who's taught for 50 years plus and had all kinds of students, I'm not going to mention things that are obvious. I'm not going to say things like, you must train under realistic conditions, pressure test things. Yeah, duh. You have to hit things hard when you're hitting the bag and stuff. Make sure you hit through. No, none of those things that you can get from most other individuals. I'm going to share with you secrets. And not a lot of people come to this channel. So I find it kind of satisfactory that the few who come in once in a while and stick with me, once in a while I will throw you a real nice appetizer for when we start to do a little bit more. Consider this video that, okay? So, the first, we're going to move from the general to the specific. What do you think training is? Well, let me tell you something. If you want to get better and not just get your ego stroked, training is a process of subtraction, not addition. It's a process of losing all the bad habits and things that hold us back so that we rebuild with an effective front and real abilities and not simply things that look pleasing to the eye. Now, it's the same in evolution. If you look at what Darwin's theory is, how things progress, okay? It's not that we get more traits, okay? Like most people think. The environment doesn't give you anything. The environment subtracts, okay? People who have traits that are not good for evolution, not people, any living creature, any organism, the environment eliminates them, okay? So it's the same with how your training should be. You have to get and lose all these little things like flinching, moving a certain way, trying to look like you're doing martial arts that hold you back really effective movements that will culminate in effective technique, okay? So remember that. Training, the first one. Training is a process of subtraction, getting rid of bad stuff, not addition. Addition comes after and slowly. 2, and it's somewhat related to the first, okay? Focusing on a style of martial arts, which is basically an affectation, okay? Martial arts all have the tools that we use, and then it has movement, okay? Movement, distance, timing, and intent. And those are the things that make you effective, okay? The style is simply a way to learn about how to use those tools, okay? Me being a good carpenter has nothing to do with how good hammers are. You understand the analogy here? Okay? People become affected by wanting to look like they're doing martial arts, doing demos that look really effective. You got to lose all that. Some of the most incredible self-protection specialists are people who came from very base arts, okay? Even Aikido, which is not a self-defense art by any means, actually has techniques that are very effective when you're bouncing. So don't think about styles. Think about utilizing your style for your training. Go back to number 1, okay? Number 3, when you focus on technique, you're putting the cart before the horse. Again, we're getting more and more specific now, but technique should be the culmination of everything being done correctly. and it should be reflexive. If a martial arts situation lasts too long, you're simply fighting. The martial art aspect is before, how you handle it, how you control it, and getting rid of the threat as soon as possible. The fight part is the absolute last. Techniques can always be countered. It's not about countering techniques, okay? So, for example, I say I'm going to poke you in the eye, right? And you say I'm going to counter it with my stooge technique. Okay, I'm being a little bit funny, but anything can be countered. On the other hand, what's really important here? The real important aspect is how I set you up for that technique with my distance, my timing, and my intent, my body movements, okay? So, for example, if I set up by coming under your line of sight with a strike, pulling your head back, and now you can't see the fingers and they're coming into the cavities of your face, including your eyes, the technique is effective. But is it really, is the effectiveness me poking you in the eye? Or is it how I set you up for that by moving offline, striking under your line of sight, putting your head in the right position so that my hand is right there. I don't even have to think about it. Boom. It's in. If I'm hitting you here, it'll slide in, okay? To all those little places that I can control your face with. And that's how you should think about technique. Don't put the cart before the horse, okay? Technique. Too many people focus on technique. This is a bad technique. This is a good technique. There's really no such thing. The good and the bad is how you work towards being effective and making techniques work because of how you set them up. And that setup is not deliberate. It's reflexive. Okay, for example, something comes this way, boom. It's a quick movement, a reflex action of striking out this way. Okay, it's not. I see him here, setting up and doing a back fist. That's too slow. And that's how people who think through technique think, and it will never work in a real situation because of that. It's just too slow to processing. Okay, the fourth one. Okay, now we're getting into some very particulars. Okay, so bear with me on this. But these two, they're very important if you understand them. And I'm really giving you something special here, whether you know it or not, and you probably don't. Sequential movement. We are trained through living in a world where a lot of fine motor skills are emphasized to move sequentially. Okay? We are trained logically in problem solving to move sequentially. In self-preservation, it's dangerous and it will get you a one-way trip to the ground, okay? For example, a gun to your head and you want to do a disarm. The way that we tend to think about these things and a lot of the way these things are taught is you move the weapon and then you move your head, okay? That's very dangerous and it will never work. The proper way to think about that technique is you have to do several things at once. You have to train your body to think so that you're moving your body offline out of the line of the weapon while you're trying to gain and control the weapon and doing certain footwork to put yourself in a position so that you can be effective, okay? You have to work this way. Same thing against a punch. A punch is coming, not just doing this, okay? Not just doing this. This and this happen together while I'm adjusting my footwork. Okay, I might create a false center line. So you think you're hitting here, but my head is actually on my other shoulder. While I'm doing that, I might come up and deflect with this, okay? As I'm moving my leg back. Even if it takes you a while to practice it slowly, learn to practice habitually with good training habits. Good training habits meaning work several things at once. A couple of things to look at for that. Do a Wing Chun punch, okay? Block as you hit. I'm not endorsing the punch for its the sake of self-defense, but it's a good exercise in teaching you to be thinking about punching him as hard as you want and can while thinking about this hand here, okay? Even something as simple as when you're throwing your punch, doing this, It's teaching you, I have a hand back here, okay? And it's active and alive, even though this is the focus presently, okay? So by doing that, you'll get out of this bad habit. So like I'm here and I'm thinking, okay, this part of my face is protected, but I'm not really cognizant of where this hand is, am I? Okay? Somebody can really strike me. It should be here, okay? In this case, if I think that this is covered. Awareness comes when you practice movement properly. Practice your movement in a way that you're doing several things at once and not simply sequentially. The last one, and the most complicated, it's not necessarily the most important, but it's a big one. I would say sequential movement is more important than this, and it kind of ties in, but we have evolved to move symmetrically with our bodies. So for example, it's very easy for us, if one hand is doing something, for the other hand to do the same thing, okay? Many martial arts techniques do that, and they don't think about twice about it. So choke, okay? Both hands come up, both hands come down. You break the choke and hit down. No, very bad. First of all, bilateral symmetry is a telegraph. You're very predictable when you move that way. Wrist grab, same thing. Circle both wrists, come over, right? Both hands, okay? Very predictable. Somebody can set you up and kill you that way, knowing exactly how you will react because of bilateral symmetry, okay? So for example, if I have a knife, I'm going to cut here knowing that you're going to be grabbing my wrist and I'll get a certain reaction from you, okay? So you're predictable and it's inefficient, okay? If I'm doing this, do it with one hand and use this hand for something else, okay? If you're against some sort of a wrist grab, one hand moves off the wrist, the other hand can do something else to reposition, to strike, okay? Boom. One hand, this hand can hit. One hand, this hand can reposition. Learn to move in a way that you're not just moving symmetrically from on both sides of your body because it's predictable, it's inefficient, and it could get you killed by somebody who's a professional and knows how to get a particular response from you to make it easy for them to take you out, okay? So these are the main bad habits that I want to talk about initially because nobody talks about them and they will set you back. When you do your training, okay, take the plunge, okay? Let yourself be destroyed so you can rebuild with good fundamental habits of movement, okay? In my own particular approach, we do everything from trauma, hypnosis, breathing work, and movement work to make sure that your body, when it moves reflexively, it's moving properly and it comes at a base that's strong and able, okay? And most of that for people is getting rid of all the bad shit they've done all these years in these other arts that they've learned some nice things and they're very good, but they've also developed a lot of really bad habits, okay? If you remember this, I'm going to promise you something. You see me? Do you see my Lambo? Do you see my mansion? Do you see my certificates? But you know what I have? I'm really, really good at what I do. And that's what I wanted. Okay? And that's where this leads. You'll really have the skills if you observe these habits. And they're not going to be easy, let me tell you. That's another video for another time. They're not easy to do. So if you can even do some of this, more power to you.